Today is December 23rd, 2006, and I'm with my mother-in-law, Julia Freeman, who we all call Nanny Teenie, and she's going to show us how to make biscuits. It's a real art, and she's going to show us her homemade biscuits. And to start with, Nanny has sifted her flour into her bowl, and she keeps this bowl with flour in it all the time. And we have about 12 cups of flour in here, well sifted. And then to begin with, Nanny, you just tell us what you're doing.
Then I just make a little well out in the middle, and this is the old-timey way of making biscuits. And then I use Crisco, and I don't measure it. It looks like an awful lot, except that I heard on TV the other day that Crisco didn't have that bad fat in it that makes your
Trans fat.
Yeah. So that made me feel better. And then, depending on how many I'm cooking, sometimes I use 2 cups of milk, and sometimes I use just 1. And depends on how many is around to feed, and for the amount of Crisco that I put in there, I'll put a little more milk.
And then a rule of thumb on that Crisco is you want to use about the same amount of Crisco as you do buttermilk.
Well, this is what I've heard my ancestors say, but I don't.
But it looks like you got a little bit more milk in yours than you do Crisco.
I do.
So you had about 3/4 of a cup of Crisco there, and we've put in about 1.5 cups of buttermilk, I believe. Okay.
And then the squishing begins. And just work it with your hand.
Now, can you tell me the technique on that
after
squishing?
you wash the hands real good. Technique, no, except that you're going to feel the consistency of it as you go along, and you'll know when it's time to quit squishing and start working in the flour. And you just squish it in your hand till you feel all the little lumps of the Crisco is worked into the flour and the buttermilk.
And I see your pile has just grown right there in your center, and it's leaving all the flour around the edges, and you just put in what flour you want.
And when you feel like that you have worked all that Crisco in there good, then you're going to start mixing a little more flour with it right off the side, and work that extra flour in. And then I begin to work it around this way. Don't know, it's not kneading it, but it's...
So you go counterclockwise and just keep adding a little flour, and you kind of do that little flip over with your hand.
Yeah.
Now, you've been making biscuits how many years, Nanny?
Well, since I was 8 years old. So now I'm 71, will be in January, and the reason I said 8 years old, there was times that Daddy always had to have a full breakfast. So Joe and I had to learn to make biscuits early because we fixed his breakfast about every morning.
Where was your mama?
Well, she would be there, but some of the time she'd be sick, and that's just the earliest that I remember us doing that. And don't that look gross? But then if your hands are good and clean, you can just work that all out.
Now, what's your first memory of biscuits?
Well, my Granny Molly.
Now, Nanny, what's your earliest memory of biscuits?
It's my granny sitting on top of the edge of the table while my Granny Molly made biscuit. And then she always, she cooked them on a wood cook stove, so she would let me open up the hot oven door.
With a glove on or something,
yeah. And you can, if you do them this way, you see, you can just about get every bit of it off.
So if you've made your biscuits just right, all the dough will roll off your fingers.
That's right.
So that's a good test. If the dough doesn't roll off, your dough's not ready.
That's about right.
Okay, I see now you're greasing your pan up, Nanny, and
With just a little bit on there, that seems to bake them browner.
okay, and you're
it's not
putting
necessary.
you're putting regular Crisco, not butter, and you're
right.
using it on a foil-lined pan
That's right.
because you want a shiny surface. Because a shiny surface gives your biscuits a better crust. Isn't that
It
right?
does. And then you begin to pinch it off and put it in there, and then you smack it one time.
And it's got to have nanny fingers on it, right?
That's right.
And when you pinch that little ball off, you're dropping it down in the dough. That's to seal the wetness around the edges of the dough.
That's right. I'll continue to use a little flour and pinch off another piece and put the flour where I pinched it off.
And is there a technique to learn to make every little biscuit the very same size?
Well, you can feel it. You can feel it. After you go so far, you can feel it in your hands, you know.
After 60-something years of making biscuits, I guess you can feel it.
I can feel it. Yeah.
Well, you make biscuits every day?
Not anymore, but I did for a long time. And, well, Pa had to have hot biscuits every night, but two is all he had.
Just 2 biscuits?
Two, don't take him 3. Because he wouldn't know.
And your family all loves their biscuits, don't they?
Well, they seem to. I know, as I always said that when I got a little older, I would do them by working in, you know, I'd take a couple of cups of flour and go that route, and it'd look a lot better than doing it with your hands.
No.
But I never have started.
Well, I'll tell you a story.
When I began to make my biscuit, that's when I turned my oven on and let it be preheating.
And what do you turn the oven on to?
On my oven is 475, and that seems to work pretty good.
And then how long do you bake them?
Well, till they get
Till
brown.
they're done. And I've seen you take the fork and lift it up
And to be sure
and make sure the bottom was done.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you got another story for us, ma'am?
Well, just really not so much a story, but after my grandma Molly got where she didn't make bread, biscuits, and Aunt Carrie was living with them at that time, and of course she made really good biscuits, but now she had pretty big ones and thin ones, you know, but they were more
Cathead biscuits.
well, they were not thick. They were thin and crispy, you know, like. They were good, so I watched her for a long time.
Well, okay, and you have a granddaughter named Molly. Now, she's not a biscuit queen like you are, is she?
Oh, yes, she's made a heap of them.
I think you're making that up, maybe. You'll have to teach her.
She's watched me, and like I do with Bessie and Kendall, I leave so much dough in the pan, and then they come in and do theirs own, you know, and sometimes you can't recognize which one belongs to them. But
Okay, Nanny, you've got your pan of biscuits all rolled out, everything's ready, and you've got your oven preheated to 475. You're going to put these biscuits in, and you're going to bake them about 20 to 25 minutes, right?
that's close, I would imagine.
Half an hour makes them dry.
Yeah.
Okay, and you've got this pan, and you just put the lid back on it. This is your a big Tupperware bowl, and you keep the flour in here all the time.
Right.
And you just keep using the same flour over and over.
That's right, your extra
Just
flour.
clean out on your fingernails.
And this is that Adelaide flour that's they package or distribute in Columbia, South
That's
Carolina.
right.
And you use self-rising flour. Okay, and you use just regular Crisco, not butter flavored.
That's right.
And you use plain buttermilk, low-fat buttermilk, or fat-free.
Fat-free cultured buttermilk.
Just okay. And are there any other secrets?
I don't think so. That's pretty much it.
Well, these biscuits are ready to go in the oven, and in 25 minutes we'll be back with the finished product.